Now we'll get right to the puck talk. Thank you very much. And as Mike Russo reports, with the Kaprizov deal, the structure is interesting. 20% of the $95.5 million cap in salary signing bonuses, 19.1 in his first 4 years. Like, it's a special contract here. And there's a lot to get to. But first, before we start diving into what this means for Connor and Jack and Kyle and Martin and great day for the Minnesota Wild. And congratulations to the Minnesota Wild. Hart Levine from Puckpedia is going to stop by a little bit later on. We're hoping to have someone else join us here that Zach is trying to coordinate as we speak. But in the meantime, before we get into the Pacifics, as we say in the Atlantic about this deal, congratulations to the Minnesota Wild. They got their guy. It's a little bit more sugar in the coffee that I'm sure Bill Guerin wanted to splash around. But nonetheless, the Minnesota Wild got Kirill Kaprizov locked up for the next 8 years, to which Greg Wyshynski says what?
I mean, there are different kinds of wins. I think this is a huge win for Bill Guerin. He landed the plane. Any general manager that's in this level of contentious negotiation that can land the plane, it's good. I was talking to you before the show. I am stunned, shocked, flabbergasted.
Okay,
that Kaprizov wanted to stay in Minnesota for 8 years. I really thought when he rejected the first contract offer that it wasn't about the money, but it was about him wanting to remain in Minnesota. We talked about it last week with Mike Russo, the let's call them nefarious overtures made by other National Hockey League teams with regard to
we're
plans
just talking. This is like Glenn Ross. We talking about this or we talking about this? So what are we doing? We're just talking. We're just talking.
He may not have known where the grass was greener, but he sure as shit knew the grass was growing other places. And I'm a little surprised he decided to commit to Minnesota, to be honest with you. But the part of the win, you just declared it win for Minnesota. The part of the win that really, well, let me ask you this, because this is also the caveat I'd give to Guerin and the caveat I'd give to the Minnesota victory, which is that they clearly were negotiating against themselves. I don't think anybody goes this high with Kaprizov on the open market. I think that this contract, as I was texting with an agent before the show, because, I'm a big deal. I think this contract is commiserate to the idea that it's not a destination market and that the way that the Wild are built does not guarantee that he's going to win a Stanley Cup in the next several seasons. I mean, they've got some great pieces. They're maybe on their way. Obviously, him being there is a foundational reason why they could maybe win a cup one day, but they've never done it in franchise history. And there are other teams built stronger in the West at the moment. And so the commitment to the team, the commitment to the market, they had to go well above their already record offer, Marek, to sign this guy.
Yep.
And one of the things that they always said was, we don't want to go negotiate against ourselves. The only other team involved in this negotiation was the Minnesota Wild. They completely negotiated against themselves.
But what was the option? Like, this is what I come back to. Like, this was, as far as agenting, this was a brilliant performance by Paul Theofanous, who recognized in this situation, this is the first year that the Minnesota Wild get out of cap prison. And if your first move when you finally get out of cap prison is to lose the best player your franchise, with all due respect, Marian Gaborik, the best player your franchise ever had, that's a bad look for the organization. And he recognized that, and that was a leverage point. Like, there's a lot of leverage points that Kirill Kaprizov had here. This is going to be a tough one for Bill Guerin from the beginning. And how many times have we said, like, it's the old Jarmo Kekalainen saying, sometimes the team has the hammer, sometimes the player has the hammer. When the team has the hammer, they have the right to use it. And when the player has the hammer, the player has the right to use it. And in this situation, much like with Connor McDavid, much like with Jack Eichel, etc., the player has the hammer here. And clearly he used it, and we should not fault them whatsoever for doing a couple of things here. Re-signing in Minnesota, and B, resetting the marketplace. To, as what one agent referred to me, because I'm a big deal too, I talked to a couple agents before the trade, said, this is a resetting of the marketplace. And what did we talk about last week? Nobody wanted to go first. No one wanted to be the first one in this pool. Well, now Kirill Kaprizov has done it, specifically in those first 4 years, as Russo points out. But he has effectively reset the marketplace here. And now everything that happens afterwards is a reflection of this contract. So this contract isn't just a Minnesota contract. This is a Winnipeg contract. This is an Edmonton contract. This is a Vegas contract. This is a Colorado contract. And it might just be a contract that gets some players traded. These are all the things that we're going to talk about on the program today.
Yeah, we are on the Kaprizov thing. Like the other thing about it too, and I there's no way to predict this stuff. I don't want to have a sassy Jack Hughes coming after me about talking about the potential health of players in future situations. But you have committed this money and you have committed this years to someone who has played 80 games once in his career. That's a fact. Now, when he plays, he's incredible. When he plays, he's one of the maybe a generational goal scorer in this league. Let's be honest. I mean, with the amount of talent that he has and the way that he shoots the puck. But, that's part of it too, is you're investing this amount of money in a guy that might not always be there based on his previous 5 seasons in the league.
The other thing that I think we need to factor into, and I hope it doesn't discourage other owners from speaking this way or being as candid and open as Craig Leopold was last year, when he said, look, no one can offer him more than we can, and I'm paraphrasing here, and we're prepared to do so. Don't forget here too, part of the motivation, like all these things that Theofanous would have gathered together, you have the owner saying, no one's going higher than us. No one's offering more. Okay, let's test that. Like all those things. Like this is why attorneys don't want clients talking outside of the courtroom. This is why it's just like, it's always a good time to shut up, because all these things, Paul Theofanous, the agent here, brought to the dance, and it all worked in his client's favor. So congratulations. And in the process, as I mentioned, reset the marketplace.
Yeah. Again, I can't say this is a loss for the Wild or a loss for Guerin. I mean, they've managed to retain, and once again, ladies and gentlemen, as we saw during the summer, the talent was retained because the cap is going up. They've managed to retain one of the best offensive players in the league, and a guy that would have lit it up in several different markets had he been able to escape. And you are now the Kirill Kaprizov team. And again, if you want to take the optimistic view, I think they're a few pieces away from being in actual cup contention. Yeah. But it's not like they don't have some good young defensemen. It's not like they don't have some decent forwards. There's something there, and you just hope that the open checkbook that allowed you to give Kirill Kaprizov the richest contract in NHL history until Connor McDavid signs is in fact also open to improve the team around him.
Yeah. The other part of this too is, and again, this was another pressure point. If you don't sign Kirill Kaprizov, how much of a step backwards are the Minnesota Wild taking here? And this is a team that, how long did we say? I know I keep coming back to Suter and Parise. Like, get the handcuffs off, and all of a sudden we'll see, finally Bill Guerin can chew on some real cap space, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.